If you're gonna play Vyse, you need to know these things to try with your friends, along with some of the other secret tips throughout this video. We'll go alphabetically, so let's begin with Astra. Vyse C ability, Razorvine, causes damage to you if you move through it, but if you stand still, or if you make tiny strafing movements, then you won't take any damage at all. So, in order to force people to move, we mix Astra's gravity pull along with the Razorvine. And at the end of it, you are left vulnerable, which means you can practically take double damage while moving through Razorvine again. Can the Astra dodge the Steel Garden if she's floating above the ground? The answer is no. So floating off the ground doesn't help. The next agent we'll compare with Vyse is Breach. Now, it's quite clear that Vyse and Breach flashes are similar. The only difference is, Breach flashes are faster and easier to use while attacking. Vyse has to wait a second before deploying her flash and actually using it. This makes it harder to use Vyse Arc Rose on attacking side. However, on defense, Vyse is better. Because the gun pull-out time on Breach is so long, by the time you flash for yourself and peek out, the enemy will already be in cover. This is where Vyse is better, because you can activate these flashes by simply kicking E without even having to change your crosshair positioning or putting your gun away. Cool combination that you can do with Vyse and Brimstone is to use the orbital strike the moment shear gets triggered. The moment someone walks past this wall, you get notified. If you line the Brimstone ultimate in a way where the edges of this line up with the wall, you will be forcing the enemy to walk through the entirety of the orbital strike and forcing them to take way more damage. Up next is Chamber. Now, Chamber is one of those few characters that can actually counter Vyse. The Steel Garden will jam your primary weapons, but Chamber's Headhunter and his ultimate Tour de Force will still work even if he's affected by the Vyse ultimate. Clove is also a character that has quite a lot of unique interactions with Vyse. Now, we have already established that the Razorvine doesn't do enough damage and probably will not discourage people from walking through it because it cannot fully kill you even if you are vulnerable. And that's where the difference is. The metal doesn't make you vulnerable. It straight up decays you and eats away most of your HP. And at low health, the Razorvine is a real threat. That's why you should consider using these together. But what happens if Clove and Vyse are on opposing teams? If Clove is trapped in the Steel Garden and she dies, upon resurrection, the gun jam effect is nullified. So I guess that means if you die after getting jammed, you will be able to use your weapon if you use your ultimate to respawn. Does the same effect apply to Phoenix and Sage Res as well? Stay tuned to find out. Cypher has 3 abilities that can grant you information, whereas Vyse has only 2. However, she makes up for it with some sort of initiation power through her flash. Vyse can probably be the solo sentinel in one of the smaller maps like maybe Bind, Split or Ascent, but she cannot be the only sentinel in the other bigger maps, so consider having one more sentinel, perhaps maybe a Cypher with her. Deadlock, on the other hand, is comparatively way worse than Vyse, as her abilities neither give you information nor can be used to watch flanks. I would have considered saying that if you're going to play with Deadlock, pair her up with Vyse, but right now I'm just going to say forget Deadlock, never pick her up. Fade's Seize can also be used in a great combo with the Razorvine. Just like Clove's Metal Nade, the Seize also makes you decay and reduces your HP. And more than that, it tethers you and it doesn't let you leave. So if you're stuck in the Razorvines and you try moving, you'll take damage, but then you'll be pulled back to the center by the Seize, dealing even more damage. Now this combo can seriously mess your enemy up. But if you have ever thought about what would happen if you use both their ultimates together, that is massive. The Fade ultimate applies a massive amount of decay, reducing the HP of everyone caught in it. Plus, Vyse's Steel Garden takes their guns away, so now they have no health and no weapons. This combo easily lets you convert some rounds. Hell, you can even win eco rounds with this. If you were to combine Gekko's and Vyse's ultimate together though, you'll probably realize that without the primary weapons, it is much harder to break the Thrash. At the pro level, almost everyone manages to shoot down the Thrash before they get detained, but good luck doing that with just the pistols. Harbor, both their ultimates are also dangerous because they cover a huge area. Using these together will force the enemies out of cover while they have pistols, so it's not like they can even wait around the corner for you to burst you down with a classic right click or a shorty. ISO's undercut is very undervalued. The Razorvines alone aren't enough to stop a push, but this with the undercut, your enemy will think twice before pushing through the thorns. Plus, there's this really funny interaction between their ultimates. If you use the Steel Garden and jam ISO's primary gun, he can just use his own ultimate, where he can use his primary weapon just as usual. So this is a massive counter to the Vyse ultimate.
Just as my playlist ends.
The whole point of Vyse's wall is to separate the duelists who get ahead of their teammates, but Jett doesn't really care because she can always updraft over her wall. She can use her knives if her primary gun is jammed in the Steel Garden. Kayo is perhaps the best initiator to pair up Vyse with because of how well their ultimates work together. Null Commands disables the enemy's abilities, while Steel Gardens disables their weapons. With no guns and no abilities, your enemies will be forced to use pistols against you. Honestly, I can't decide which is a better combo. Kayo and Vyse together, or Fade and Vyse together. Because both the ults, if they use it together, they can even win you eco rounds. So let me know which one would you prefer in the comments. Killjoy. Now there's the agent and inspired Vyse. The Razorvine and the Nanoswarms share the same concept, except the only difference being, I would never walk through the Nanoswarm. But the Razorvine doesn't really scare me. The size of the lockdown and the size of Vyse's ultimate are also exactly the same, which means you can use them both in the same way. Killjoy has two abilities that give you information, the alarm bot and the turret, and same with Vyse. The major difference is, Vyse can be way more aggressive with her semi-initiator-like playstyle and flashes. Neon is one of those characters who will never struggle while fake triggering a wall. Also, her ultimate isn't really affected by the Steel Garden, so now that you look at it, Neon is one of those characters that literally doesn't care whether Vyse is there in the game or not. Omen can also escape the Steel Garden if you react quickly enough. You can use his own ultimate from the shadows, teleport out, and cancel the TP to dodge the Steel Gardens, and you can still have your weapons functioning. You know how we've seen several agents smoke off Chamber Trademark and Killjoy Alarm Bot to go past them undetected? The same cannot be done with Vyse. Phoenix is one of those characters that can actually counter Vyse. If you get stuck in the Steel Garden while your ultimate is up, dying and respawning using the Phoenix ult will cleanse your gun off the jam and you can use the weapon again. Now let's come to Raze. Raze has some of the best combos in the game with Vyse. The nade along with the Razorvine combo is lethal. The fact that it slows you down means you won't be able to dodge the nade in time and you will end up losing a major chunk of your HP, maybe even dying. The Steel Garden also doesn't stop the rockets, the showstopper, so keep an eye out for that. It must be pointed out that Reyna is quite countered with Vyse. You see, Reyna's abilities rely purely on her gunplay, and the Steel Garden takes away her gun, so she becomes kinda useless. Sage's slow orb actually slow you down significantly. Vyse slow? It's not that strong. Neither is her damage. Sage Barrier Orb also costs 400 credits, which is literally double of sheer. It can also be used as a tripwire, meanwhile a Sage Wall cannot really be used that way. Resurrecting someone will cleanse them of the Steel Garden jam effect, but I doubt that you'll ever come across a situation like this in a real game where this feature is actually useful. Skye. Now, this statement will offend all the Skye fans, but I personally think that Vyse Flash is now better than Skye Flashes. I mean, first of all, it gives you the information just like Skye's little birdies do, but it also recharges every 20 seconds. Most importantly, whenever I have a Skye in my team, I stay the hell away from them, because all of them always end up team flashing me. Now let's come to Sova. Sova is one of those characters that might actually go well with the Vyse. Together, the Sova can use his Hunter's Fury more easily when he knows that his enemies are trapped behind the Vyse wall and they don't have much room to move. Viper. I mean, by this time I think you've figured out that you need to incorporate some or the other damaging utility with Razorvine, otherwise it's pretty much useless. However, Viper's Pit might just be the only ultimate that doesn't care about the Steel Garden. Let's say you manage to jam Viper's primary weapon inside her pit. The moment you start entering her pit, you will start losing HP. So when you're low on health, even a classic can kill you quite easily. Yoru can be the one character that can irritate Vyse players to the limit. The clone does not trigger the wall for now. However, according to this tweet, this is a bug and it might be fixed. If the Vyse uses her Steel Garden, there is enough time for you to pull out your mask and escape into your ultimate, which will make sure that your guns don't jam. This is like the one agent that Vyse players need to be the most careful about. Let us know what characters you think can be paired up with Vyse the best and which characters counter her in the comments. Subscribe for more content. We'll see you soon.